So Irene used to talk to my parents every day. So she either text them or video call them. So my dad actually called us and said, "Hey, have you guys talked to your sister?" And I said, "Well, I texted her a week ago, but so I tried to call her, same thing, she didn't answer. And I called my brother, and my brother said he hadn't talked to her either, just probably text her. So that's when we really realized that nobody had really actually talked to her.
A young woman from a very close-knit family in Kenya moves to the United States. She's following dreams of a thriving career and a family life, even becoming engaged. But then she disappeared. Would she really just take off as her fiancé is claiming? That logic seems to defy not only her family's beliefs, but the career path that she had also set herself on. It's time to turn on the searchlight for Irene Gakwa. Welcome back to Brain Scratch Searchlight. I'm John Lordan. Thank you so much for caring about these cases like I do. One thing that most parents can count on is that their children will eventually move away from home. Francis Kambo Gakwa expected this from his sons, but thought that maybe his daughter, Irene Gakwa, would stay closer to home. His sons, Chris and Kennedy, made a very big move from their family's home in Nairobi, Kenya, to Ohio in the United States. Both were in their late 20s, and they wanted to attend college there. Irene originally stayed in Kenya, living at home while she attended college and worked in the tourism industry. But when she hit her late 20s, she also wanted to see more of the world, and she also missed her brothers. She chose to follow them to Ohio in May of 2019. This would also be part of her new plan to start a career in healthcare. Irene was known as a shy introvert, and her parents worried about making such a big change in her life. They knew that she was sweet and fun-loving, but she could also be strong when it was called for. Her parents hoped that this would carry her through in her new adventure, not to mention she would have her brothers nearby. When she arrived, she initially lived with her brother Chris and his wife, Joyce Ubate, in Meridian, Idaho, a suburb of Boise. Irene planned to go to nursing school so she could reach her dream of working at a hospital. She also became very close to Joyce in the early days of her arrival. The pair would watch Nigerian movies together, drink tea, and even take girl trips to Los Angeles to shop, eat good food, and visit the beach. Joyce would say about Irene, "She's such a free spirit, so caring, goofy, she just goes with the flow." On one trip in 2020, Irene confided in Joyce that she was dating someone. Her sister-in-law had noticed that Irene seemed to be spending a lot of time on her cell phone lately, but didn't think much of it. Their family was very close and kept in regular contact with each other. She told Joyce that she was dating a man that she had met on Craigslist, named Nathan Heitman. Although, if you do look into this for yourself, you might see several news sources that use the name Nightman. I'm not sure exactly why there's a discrepancy, but it appears his name is Nathan Heitman. He was raised in California. He has a knack for technology and a bit of a propensity for staying indoors. His neighbors say that food is usually delivered to his home, and he's just not seen outside very often. Irene didn't give many more details to Joyce about the relationship, but after living with her brother for about 9 months, she moved out, saying that she had rented a room from someone. Irene started nursing school at the College of Western Idaho while she and Heitman grew closer. Their relationship was rocky. They broke up several times, but they always got back together. Eventually, the two moved in together in Meridian. In July of 2021, Irene talked to her brothers and said that she wanted a change and that she was going to be moving to Arizona, where it was warmer. It's not exactly clear why this information contradicts the reality, which was that Heitman made the decision to move to Gillette, Wyoming, and Irene went with him. Meridian is a city with a population of over 100,000 people, where Gillette has a population of less than 20,000. There would be fewer opportunities for Irene there, and the weather actually gets pretty cold. She would also now be 770 miles from the only family that she had in this country. It's reported that Heitman was a controlling partner, and this only became worse after the move. Once they moved, Irene transferred to nearby Gillette Community College, and she continued her nursing studies. Her brother, Kennedy, told the press that at some point, Irene and Heitman also became engaged. To help combat her homesickness, she would call her family regularly, stayed in contact via text, and also talked to them using video on WhatsApp. When her family talked to her on February 24th, 2022, they noticed that something was off. The 32-year-old was normally a well-put-together person, but they noticed that night that her hair was disheveled and not in its usual braid. Her father kind of teased her, saying that she looked tired and hungry. "Make sure you drink hot milk and relax," he would tell her. The next day, some troubling events would happen. Her bank password was changed via her Samsung Galaxy phone, and a message was sent to her employer quitting her job. March arrived, and there were no more video calls from Irene. On March 3rd, her family received a series of short text messages that made excuses as to why she wasn't using the video chat feature and had been out of touch. Even more suspicious was the fact that these texts didn't include any Swahili words, which she would usually intersperse with her written English when speaking directly to her family. She also made a remark that she was moving to Texas since she didn't like where she was living, and that she might change her phone number. After that last message, no one heard from Irene again. Soon, her WhatsApp account was deleted, and a couple of days later, her family was also unable to reach her by phone as her number was deactivated. This would prompt her family to take a very big step. On March 20th, 2022, they filed a missing persons report. When police arrived at the address in Arizona that the family had been given, they found out that Irene had never lived there. When her name was checked out online, they found an attached address for Gillette, Wyoming. Finally, the family had a piece of the truth that all this time she had actually been living in Wyoming and living there with Nathan Heitman. With obvious mounting suspicions, investigators spoke to Heitman in Gillette. Heitman claimed that at the end of February, Irene broke off their relationship. He said that one night she came home from a restaurant, packed her clothes into 2 plastic bags, and told him that she was leaving Gillette. He reported that she left in a dark-colored SUV, and she hadn't been seen or heard from since. Initially, investigators had told the family that Irene could disappear if she wanted to, and there wasn't much that they could do about it. But as they looked into Heitman and heard his claims, they began to grow more suspicious, and by April 12th, he was considered a person of interest in her disappearance. Investigators interviewed Irene's friends and associates, and they also checked her location data and purchases. They found that in her absence, Heitman had apparently drained her checking and savings account, and that he was using her credit card. He had transferred over $3,000 from her accounts to a digital payment account that he owned. He also spent an additional $3,000 plus on her credit card. Now, Heitman was not authorized to use any of those accounts, and the transactions traced right back to his IP address. After those transactions were completed, Irene's Gmail was closed. Her brother Kennedy wonders, why would you do that? Why would you take somebody's money from a checking account? Why would you max somebody's credit card? He obviously knows more than he's saying. All of that activity started on February 25th, just a day after Irene's family got their last troubling video call from her. When questioned about these new details, Heitman proclaimed his innocence. He said that he had only taken the money in order to get Irene to contact him. The logic supposedly being that she would reach out when she found out that he was spending all of her money. Even if that excuse was plausible, there was more troubling news. On that same day, Heitman made a purchase at a local Walmart. He was filmed on CCTV buying a shovel, a pair of boots, and pants. After numerous search warrants were executed on the Gillette home, the boots and the shovel were found inside. The most disturbing detail, however, came from a neighbor of Heitman's, who said that between late February and March, they saw Heitman burning something in his backyard, and He was burning it in a 55-gallon metal drum. On May 10th, 2022, Heitman was walking out of a Walmart carrying groceries that he had bought on Irene's credit card. He was arrested and charged with 5 felony charges, 2 counts of felony theft, 2 counts of crimes against intellectual property, and unlawful use of a credit card. Unfortunately, none of the charges are actually stemming from evidence or information about Irene's disappearance or what happened to her. It's clear that even though investigators have a lot of big pieces of this puzzle, they are still looking for the one that brings them the answers as to what happened to Irene, and could also bring some new and very serious charges for Heitman. Investigators did receive a tip that Irene may have been taken to a rural area, a mine site, or an oil and gas location, sometime between February 24th and March 20th. They're asking that anyone in Campbell County who saw a gray or silver Subaru Crosstrek with Idaho license plates trespassing on private property during that time period be reported. They're also asking that if anyone in the area has found an abandoned 55-gallon barrel, to report that as well. While Irene's family has held candlelight vigils and done everything they can to spread the word about her disappearance, the people of Gillette have also come out in full force. Wearing t-shirts that read, "Where's Irene?" they've conducted weekend searches, canvassed neighborhoods, and put up missing posters. A lot of these efforts are being spearheaded by a woman who never met Irene but is looking to help her family find the answers. Her name is Stacy Kester. She's helped organize numerous search efforts, including on horseback and with cadaver dogs. Searchers are desperately trying to locate the item that they believe holds the answers, that 55-gallon drum. Now, Stacy has also run into some legal issues with Heitman, who is accusing her of stalking him. It seems like it's little more than an effort to get her to stop discussing him on TikTok. Even before Heitman's arrest, he refused to work with law enforcement or Irene's family. He also refused to return any of her belongings that may still be in his possession. On March 29th, 2023, he pled guilty to 3 of the 5 charges. He was sentenced to 3 to 6 years in prison. He must also pay $13,000 in fines and restitution, including the amounts that he stole from Irene, and he'll be on probation for 3 years following his release. Some of us are hoping that maybe some new information comes into play and that prison time gets extended quite a bit more. Irene's brother Kennedy waits for his 5 p.m. phone call each night. That's when investigators call to let him know how Irene's case is going. He then calls their parents to update them. He says, quote, "They're in rough shape, especially my mom. My dad hides it well, but my mom, I can tell she's definitely having a hard time. Irene used to talk to them almost every other day." Although their days are filled with worry, it's also full of praise for the people of Gillette and their efforts to help. For now, they support each other and pray that someday soon they will find Irene. Kennedy wonders sometimes if he's doing enough. Quote, "I sit at home wondering if I'm doing all I can. I wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning worrying and thinking of my sister." He also asks that anyone with information please call the police. Quote, "Sometimes people think I saw this or I saw that and it's not important, but it could be the clue that police need. It's worth sharing," he says. Irene Gakwa is a black woman who stands at about 5 foot 1 inch tall and weighs between 90 and 100 pounds. Her hair is black and her eyes are brown. If you have any information on the disappearance of Irene Gakwa, please pick up the phone and contact the Gillette Police Department at 307-682-5155. Also, please consider sharing this video with friends and acquaintances in both Idaho and Wyoming, as well as the surrounding states, to help us raise awareness. If you want to support the family directly, there are some links down below. They're receiving donations to cover travel expenses as they continue their search efforts. And Stacy is also running a GoFundMe to try to raise money to be offered as a reward. On behalf of myself and our supporters here at the LordanArts channel, we've made a donation to that GoFundMe. And if you'd like to contribute more, you can find a link to that below as well. Since 2015, we've always run limited commercial ads for the benefit of you, the viewers, and the families that we're trying to help. Obviously, we can't do that without support. A big thank you to new patron Isabel Olson, and thank you Alita Montaigne for increasing your pledge. If you'd like to help, please visit LordanArts.com. There you can sign up for Patreon, sign up for PayPal, buy merchandise, or even just buy us a coffee like Dixie recently did. We really appreciate your support on our mission to run as few ads as possible and help as many cases as we can. Thank you, GilletteNewsRecord.com, Cowboy State Daily, WyomingNews.com, WyomingTruth.org, NewsNation Now, Kawatunga.com, NairobiWire.com, CNN, Independent.co.uk, Wikipedia, NBC News, and Forbes for information contributing to today's story. Also, a big thank you to everyone in that community that is rallying around to support this family. And honestly, everyone in the world. Obviously, we have the family in one location. We've got the case going on in another. We need support coming in from everywhere. So if you're part of that team already, thank you for being part of that team. Let's all keep our eyes, ears, and hearts open and looking for Irene Gakwa. I'll see you again here soon on the LordanArts channel.